Hey guys, welcome back to What the Fat. I have a very special guest on today, someone who I've known for a lot of time and I follow her all the time on social. And you think I travel a lot. She's traveling not only all over the US, but literally all over the world. And she actually has a brand new book coming out that I'm excited to get into. But today with me on What the Fat, I have Jane Downs. Jane, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, it's amazing. And I think a lot of people are going to love your story. If they haven't heard it already, I mean, they need to. And I think it's a really powerful journey because you take the concept of like keto, like you were one of the early adopters of keto even before keto was cool. And so like you did keto and then you combined it with training. But a lot of people would look at you and be like, oh my God, you're in incredible shape. Like, and you are, you're in absolutely amazing shape and you don't you don't stress eat all the time. You're not counting every little thing. And then on top of that, I watch you
Never.
doing workouts like with like random pieces of stuff outside. Like you make it work, and I think that's amazing. So, could you tell the audience a little bit about your journey, like where you first heard about keto, and then kind of your path to being on this ketogenic lifestyle?
Yeah, absolutely. So I found keto for my own personal reasons. I have struggled with anxiety and depression from a very young age. And I was on a laundry list of medications from about age 13 until 20, in and out of a psychological hospital. And it was kind of my battle. And through medication, I never saw results. I turned into kind of a walking zombie. I had medication to keep me up at day. I was on actually Dexedrine to keep me up, not because I was ADHD. I was on medication to put me to sleep and just not really functioning. I decided I wanted to get off medication and sort of fell into other ways to manage my symptoms, and did that through nutrition and exercise and found the ketogenic diet as an alternative treatment and started implementing it with myself and saw results. It's definitely not a cure all for me. I have a lot of different tools in my toolbox that I use to sort of manage the highs and lows of my mental illness, but I saw amazing results. And then at that time was working as a personal trainer full time and started reading and just diving into everything keto and low carb and nutrition and saw all the different applications that it could be used for and started implementing it with clients and continue to see a wide variety of success. So that's kind of the the path I've been on for a while now.
Amazing, amazing. And where did you first kind of like hear about it? Like, where was your first source of like, oh, I've heard about this keto thing? Like, do you remember what first kind of sparked like, hey, I can eat a ton of fat and like this actually may help?
Yeah, so I heard about it. I don't remember exactly where, but as an alternative treatment for bipolar
Mm,
through a nutritionist that worked in Salt Lake City. And I don't have bipolar. I don't ever have any sort of manic episodes, but the only medications I ever responded to were those meant to treat bipolar. And so I kind of thought, might as well give it a go. What does it hurt? And not only did I see results, but I actually kind of healed a dysfunctional relationship I had with food from working in fitness and eating low fat and being a woman and an ex ballerina dancer. And
I think that's a huge point. I think that's amazing, first off, and I think huge kudos to you and huge kudos to that nutritionist who
yeah,
was progressive for her time because I think that's a big thing that there is a lot of data, and we talk about it in the Ketogenic Bible a little bit about some of the research on bipolar and a lot with anxiety. And
yeah.
I think it should be looked at more, and I hope a lot more nutritionists and doctors are aiming to go down that route. But on top of that, you hit on a very important point, which I think a lot of females, especially who are surrounded by, I used to look at it. You know, it's crazy. Going back, I used to look at this and be like, oh, well, it's the females that are in the fitness industry. Now, unfortunately, with social media, it's like females are exposed to the bodies and certain looks and the
Yeah.
Photoshop world of like, I need to look a certain way on things. And it just changes their relationship with food. And it's amazing that this lifestyle has kind of altered that for you because it doesn't, a lot of times people that are into fitness are obsessed with their body image. Like you said, they're eating extremely
Yeah.
low fat, they're tracking everything. And then, so like how has that changed your perspective? Like you were one of those people who used to track everything probably and like do everything.
Absolutely.
And so how did that change when you started eating keto?
Um, I was definitely like a little bit OCD about tracking macros for years. I mean, I don't think I would have like those my fitness pal tells you like how many days in a row you've tracked and it'd be like 812 days. And I'm like, oh my
Wow.
gosh, yay. And that's like sick that I was so excited about. But and so transitioning to keto, I think the biggest thing was like loving the food I was eating again and having it taste good, right? Add fat and add salt back into your diet, and all of a sudden everything's delicious. And meal frequency going down, feeling full. So I wasn't always hungry thinking about my next meal. And then just falling in love with cooking again, because when you eat more of a bodybuilder, low fat, high carb diet, it's bland and boring. And you eat 6 times a day. So you can't really enjoy or spend time cooking. And so I got to have fun in the kitchen again and make food I enjoyed and just sort of healed that relationship I had with food.
Amazing. And your recipes are phenomenal, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about your new book that you have, the new book
You,
coming out.
yeah.
But one of the things that you've done, which I think I recommend to everyone I talk to at some level, like the world is a very big place, and I think we all need to experience it more. And like one of my biggest fears in life, and I think you share a very similar fear, in that one of my fears is like I'm never going to be able to see the world for what it truly is. And so that's why I love like going to different places. And I used to be one of those people when we go speak at conferences or travel, like I'd fly in, fly out. But now it's like I go to a place, I stay there, and I like at least try and spend a day to enjoy the
Yeah.
culture. And like you were one of those people. You went somewhere and you're like, I'm gonna stay here for a little while. So can you tell us about that? And like you ended up literally like changing. We refer to it like the Jungle Jane, and I love
Yeah,
watching
yeah.
that. Like what was that journey like?
So I just like on a whim had a coupon to Southwest. And I was like, where does Southwest fly? Oh, the Bay Area, Costa Rica. Okay. So I went, I think, was that 2 years ago now? Like January 2 years ago for a week with a friend and loved it. And at the time, my depression was actually kind of at a all-time, I don't know, I guess low, but I was struggling pretty hard for a consistent amount of time and just felt something shift in myself kind of when I was down there in that culture, the pace of life, the amount of sunshine, the amount of time I spent outside. And so I came back and decided that I was going to go live there. And I moved like 5 months later and I lived there for about a little over a year.
Amazing. And
I
so
just got back like 3 weeks ago.
oh, well, how so? What was the culture like there? Like how did like obviously you talked the environment was just completely different. You're surrounded by sunshine and beautiful tropic weather. Like it's amazing. Like what are some of the like foods? I know you were working out outside all the time. I was following. I was like, dang, I didn't even know they could make like an outside gym. And Jane's over there like crushing it at this outside gym. What was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. The pace of life is kind of was I think the most healing for me. I'm very type A. I'm task oriented. I'm a list maker and like this, I was able to step back and just live a lot more present. Everything's slow, so there's no rush to get anything done. The food is great. It's really amazing. It's a lot of whole, real ingredients. Most of the beef's all grass fed, just as is. It's just easier to eat one ingredient, real food. I went to this amazing gym. It's called CrossFit Surfside. If you guys are ever in Costa Rica, it's an outside CrossFit gym where there's literally monkeys yelling at you while you're working out, and these massive cows that walk through the gym, and it's just amazing people. Um, and I lived in a tiny little town next to seven just amazing white sand, black sand beaches. It was the life. I'm having withdrawals.
Who knows? You might end up back there. You might end up back
No doubt, actually.
there. That's awesome. So what did a day in the life look like for you while you were there? Like what kind of foods did you eat? Like did it differ because you didn't have access to a lot of the maybe some of the different stuff that we have here, but obviously a lot of it's like you said fresh. Like it's legit straight off the farm, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah, so food wise, it was kind of a blessing. I've actually been back and have all these like keto treats and alternative foods that I've already had like stomach problems and felt more inflamed and like, all right, I gotta get back to the actual like real food that I was eating before. But great meat, really great beef, a lot of seafood, obviously, and just I always go to the farmer market on Thursdays and just get fresh ingredients. The different thing is there's limited access, so you never really know what you're going to find, and the vegetable variety is a lot less. So you really only eat spinach and broccoli, and that's kind of your greens, some lettuce. So it got a little repetitive, but I love to cook, so I was creative and kept things interesting.
And so, did you eat keto like 70% of the time, 80%, or were you like, I was pretty much keto the entire time I was there?
Well, so since my workouts transitioned from being just more kind of athletic training to actual CrossFit, I did start upping my carbohydrates just for the intensity of my training. And I had so much amazing fruit around me all the time that it was really hard to be like, hey, this pineapple is like, I'm not going to eat it, or the mango's falling off behind my house. Like, I'm that stuff. And so I was eating more, probably like 25% carbs, but I still had tests my blood and it was in and out of ketosis. And that's actually kind of what I maintain now is I'm not by any means what you would call a traditional ketogenic dieter, like macro breakdown at all. I incorporate a lot of real starchy vegetables and fruit into my diet and then and find that more metabolic flexibility.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's great. And so, right now, like being back, do you incorporate in like what are some of your tips and tools? Like, do you do intermittent fasting and stuff like that still, or do you eat three, four, one meal a day? What does that look like?
So I think it's really great that I've just become really in tune with my body. So I don't follow any sort of protocol. Like for today, it's 10 a.m. I haven't had anything but black coffee. I didn't wake up hungry. Yesterday, however, at 10 a.m., I was like ravenous and had my first meal of like a stir fry at 10 a.m. So it varies. I would probably say 4 days a week. I fast between 16 and 18 hours. And the other 3 days, I eat more a 3 meal a day. But I think just based on, I just listen, am I hungry? Okay, I'm going to eat. And I try to stop when I'm full and let that kind of be just a natural rhythm in my body.
And that's a great tool. I think I talk a lot about. We've had a bunch of different guests on, and I think that's a universal theme is getting people back to intuitive eating because I
Yeah.
think we're at a point now, and I'm sure you've seen it now being from Costa Rica, now coming back to the U.S. Like unfortunately, it's a blessing and a curse is that there's so many of things that are available in the U.S. that like you said, you might go to the farmer's market and not know if there's lettuce, but like you go to any store in the U.S. and I promise you, there's going to be cookies and candy. Like
Yeah, no
there's
doubt.
so I think that's a big one for like kind of changing people's perspective of like, oh, there's food availability all the time. Whereas like where with you is like kind of back to the primal age of like, oh, I don't know what's going to be here. Like I eat what I kill, so to speak, which
Not
is
quite, but
not
close.
quite, but close. But that's awesome. And so right now, with working out, like how many days a week do you work out?
5 to 6.
And what is that? What is that? Do you still do like CrossFit style workouts?
So I'm training again in person in the gym I go to. I train at has a CrossFit gym attached, and then like a massive athletic functional gym also. So it's kind of the perfect balance for me. So I'm doing CrossFit maybe 2 to 3 times a week, and then the rest of the days doing more of accessory kind of my own workout. I definitely took a toll on my body to do CrossFit 6 days a week in Costa Rica. It
Yeah,
was
I
hard.
imagine.
I loved it. I'm very competitive, so it's good for me, like a good outlet. But my joints hurt all the time.
You're like, oh god, this is so brutal. It's a brutal sport. It is a brutal sport. But that's good though. I'm glad you're allowing your body to rest and recover
Yeah.
now. That's great. What if you had to pick right now, like one of your favorite meals, being back in the U.S. Like if you're like, you know what, this is like if it's like my birthday and I want to make up keto friendly, of course. Like
Okay.
yeah, I was like, mine would be like sushi and hibachi,
Yeah.
but like a keto friendly meal option. What would that be? What would that look like?
I love seafood. Um, and so I mean, if it was my birthday, maybe like surf and turf, like steak and lobster.
Can't beat it. Can't beat it. A little butter on there, you're good to go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that leads us into like your book. So
Okay.
you have a brand new book that's coming out. I'm super excited about it, and it's something that I need because I'm terrible in the kitchen, and I like every
Are
time
you?
I'm awful. I'm awful, and so first before we get into the what's inside of the book, because I'm excited to dig into that. What inspired you to write that? Like, where did that inspire? Were you just like, you know what? You like you said, you loved being back in the kitchen, and you're like, I want to share this with the world. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's a pressure cooker ketogenic cookbook. And the reason I kind of got really into pressure cooking was because of my time in Costa Rica. I lived in a house in the tropics without AC. So there was AC in the bedroom, but nothing in the kitchen, which means cooking over a stove or turning on your oven was miserable. And pressure cookers don't heat your house. So I started using my Instapot all of the time and realized kind of the variety. I could make anything in an Instapot that I could on a stove or an oven for the most part. And so just became really creative with cooking because there wasn't a ton of variety. So I had to kind of be inventive and come up with fun recipes. And I found something I really enjoyed. So I decided to kind of put that into something I could share with everyone. That was kind of the reason the pressure cooker was involved.
Awesome. No, I love that, and I haven't used one. I haven't used that a lot, so I'm excited to like try and figure it out and learn about it. So the name of your book is the essential ketogenic diet pressure cooking, right?
Hmm.
Um, so what would people find in there? Like all different kinds of, is it breakfast, lunch, dinner recipes, literally just made this way? Like what can people expect to find in there?
Yeah, so it's you can find pretty much everything. There's a basics chapter, which is just not necessarily pressure cooking, but just some of my favorite like dressings and sauces and things that I just would pair with the pressure cooker recipes or use in the recipes. And then you have breakfast, beef, chicken, soups, desserts, kind of the full spectrum of options and recipes.
Love it. And is there one recipe in there that's your favorite where you're like, I hope everyone like looks at this? Is there one that you're like, this is my favorite to make? Maybe not even, maybe, I mean, we'll keep the surf and turf to eat. But is there like, this is my favorite one to make? It looks great. Like it's a fun time.
um, the shashuka is pretty cool that you make. It's like Indian, or I don't even know. I think it's actually like African. Tomato based with eggs and and zucchini, and I use hummus and feta. It's really good. Or I love my like taste wise my butter chicken. I'm a huge Indian food lover.
That sounds amazing. And both of those are on my list now. I gotta try both those out. That sounds amazing. Um, well, I'm excited for it, and congratulations on that. I think it's going to be huge, and I think a lot of people can get benefits from it, especially people like me who are somewhat crunched for time. That are like, hey,
Yeah.
I want to be able to make legitimate recipes. I don't want to eat the same thing all the time. So I'm excited to dig more into it and make some of those recipes. Um, but the last thing I want to wrap up with, this is a question I ask everyone that's been on the show, is what are you most excited about in the keto space? Like, there's a lot going on. Like keto's growing astronomically in general. So, what excites you about like the conversation and how much it's grown?
Definitely the mental health aspect. So all the new research coming out with the benefits of it for anxiety and depression, and just having people have tools outside of medication and pharmaceuticals to heal their body, I think is just remarkable. And that's what keeps me going every day and excites me. And I can't read enough about it. And that's definitely what fuels my fire for sure.
Well, you're a huge source of inspiration, and I know you're going to help it. You're already helping, and your story, and I hope a lot of people that listen to this, there's definitely going to be someone who deals with that, and is certainly going to look to you as for guidance. And I think you're an amazing person. Not only the way you carry yourself, but the way you're always accessible to reach out, and people always ask for help, and you're always there to
Yeah.
help, which is amazing. So. I just wanted to say thank you so much. I think your story is incredible. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I'm glad that we got to talk a little bit about your. I was super interested in the Costa Rica experience and how it was eating there, and then you took your experience there and translated it into a new book. It's just absolutely amazing. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Ryan.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.